And
Earthquake.
so many organizations don't.
Sorry, earthquake.
Really?
Yeah. I'm in Southern California.
I've never experienced one before.
Whoa, yeah, you don't want to, man. They're weird. They're weird. You might be all right with it though, the way you're banging down those moguls, man. You're like, whatever, I'm good.
Good
uh,
point.
Welcome to CMMS Radio, a podcast and general resource for all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices and have a successful CMMS journey. We'll bring in experts along the way to help us learn more about CMMS, facilities operations, and much more. If you need help with the CMMS project, send a message at cmmsradio.com using the What's on Your Mind link. Suggest a topic, share your CMMS story, or ask questions. Well, thank you for tuning in, everyone. Today, we've got an extremely special guest, someone I've wanted to have on CMMS Radio for a long ass time. We're talking about Keenan, a sales growth company. A lot of you may know about gap selling. If you don't, you need to know about it. One of my biggest things that I like about what he's doing is he'll tell you real. He's focused on problem-centric selling. And to me, I used to think client-centric selling was that. But there are some differences. So I want to get into that with Keenan. But there's one thing, Keenan, about your background that I really want to explore. And you used to do some things with reliability, maintenance and reliability, and assets and software. Can you tell us a little bit about that period of time in your life and what you were doing, who you were working with?
Oh, it was just a client. So it wasn't per se anything I was doing. I was just asked to come in and help the sales team in a company that did that. And that sales team has since been purchased. But when I got there, their growth rate, they were growing at 20% year over year, but their growth rate wasn't matching their planned growth rate in order to get to a revenue number that they knew their valuation would change. So anything under, I think it was under 45 million or something like that, the valuations were like 2 to 4, and anything over 40 million, valuations started creeping into the 6 to 8. So they knew that they wanted to get to that number, and they weren't tracking at that number. So they brought me in, and I worked with them for a while, and I learned a lot about the industry and, reliability maintenance strategies and maintenance approaches and processes, and downtime and inventory management and all that stuff.
Yeah. What I love about that is I've always wanted to ask you, are you able to go into situations relatively cold and figure them out because you know where to look for the problems, you know where to get the buy-in on what those root causes are once you finally find them? And I've always been intrigued by that. I wanted to ask you very directly, do salespeople out here, BDRs, SDRs, people that are in the sales process, need to really know everything, or can they kind of get themselves up to speed quickly? You think about somebody coming from one industry to another and jumping in. You're pretty adaptable, but do you think everyone else is as well?
I think they're as adaptable as they want to be, right? I think if you're going into a new space and you don't know anything about that space, you should have the awareness to recognize I don't know that much about this space. I don't know what I don't know. So let me go do some research. Let me go learn. Let me go maybe talk to some existing clients. Let me learn how they go to market, how they develop their products, who their customers are, how they make their money, how profitable are they? Not as an individual, but are they in a highly profitable space? Or like manufacturing is not a highly profitable business. It's very, very small margins, and efficiency is how they make their money, and they do it in volume, right? So any mess up at all and you can be underwater. So it's just really taking the time to understand how the businesses work, and then being really good at asking questions.
Yes, and that leads me to another question. Or you've talked about it a lot. I've seen you on different podcasts. I've jumped in on Ask Keenan Anything once or twice, maybe 5 times. And of course, when you're talking about these things, I'm just paying attention to what you really mean. So this concept, this idea about diagnosing and asking questions that are probative, but more so diagnostic, I think it really relates to asking the right question and then just shutting up and listening, like, actively, so that you
Yeah.
can really hear and get down into that. is that really about getting someone who's learning these techniques and how to do better discovery questions about, like, just that simple step of just ask the question and shut up and pay close attention? Or is there more to it than that, in your opinion?
No, it's that and curiosity. I think that's the piece that if I could figure out how to if I could have figured this out before I wrote the book, I would have spent more time to try to learn how to convey the curiosity part. So when I ask questions, most of the time it starts with I don't understand. Like I'm just trying to go in to understand. I want to know what's going on and why it's going on and what's causing it and how long has it been happening and what have you tried to do to fix it and why is that actually a problem and help me understand your business because that doesn't make sense to me. I just go in with this massive level of curiosity. Most people, salespeople, when they start doing discovery, they're not going in with curiosity. They're going in with an agenda. They're going in with an agenda to try to find something they can sell to. I already know that if I don't have an agenda and I just go in with full curiosity to understand what's going on, and I can understand to a pretty level that's pretty in depth, by default, I'll know if there's something I can sell them. I don't have to have that as the goal.
Do you think that comes from how many times you've done this and we wouldn't even be able to count it? Or does it really boil down to you luckily, maybe you're blessed that you have that natural curiosity and you're totally okay leaving the agenda at the door?
Uh, I mean, I'm okay leaving the agenda at the door, as I said, because if I don't have an agenda and I'm truly focused on just trying to understand, then my goal is if I can help them, then they'll be open for help because they know I understand what's going on. So if I make a suggestion, right? Like I saw a video, I'm probably going to butcher this, but I saw a video on LinkedIn the other day and it showed this woman at the driving range. She looked like a pretty good golfer. I mean, I golfed. I got a 12 handicap. Well, I used to have a 12 handicap, not anymore. But anyways, um, and this guy started giving her tips, and you could read above, and it says she's on the women's PGA tour, right? And this dude is giving her all these tips and saying, you're doing this and you're doing that, and she's like, oh, thanks. And she goes, but I guess she was working on a particular exercise, so she was being very deliberate of how she was swinging her club, testing something, and he was interpreting that as her doing something wrong. And she never told him. She didn't never said, just leave me alone. I'm on the PGA tour. She was very gracious, but she kept trying to say, I appreciate it, but I'm trying to do. And he didn't listen to her. And he said, well, look, at one point he goes, look, I've been golfing for 20 years. I'm just trying to help you out. And then she took a shot. He goes, see, wasn't that much better? And she didn't even do what he said, right? So my point in telling that story is he never took the time to understand. He never took the time to understand. He just started offering his solution. And it was the wrong solution. And he now, thank God his face wasn't, it was only his voice, but he looks like an idiot.
Yeah.
Like he looks like an absolute, especially when he's, well, I've been doing this for 20 years. Dude, she's on the fucking PGA tour. Just shut up, sit down, and maybe she'll teach you how to swing the club, So I look at it the same way. I don't believe I can be as effective if I'm trying to go in and find a piece of information that I can use to my benefit. I feel better off if I completely understand their environment and everything that's going on and then say, oh, based on what you've told me, based on what I've heard, I might be able to help you. Let me explain why. And they say, yeah, I'd like more information. I'd like to go. Then great. Here we go.
And everything about that. And when I respond to what you just said, I'm also responding to everything I've consumed that you've said over the last at least 3 years for me. And I just keep coming back to this concept of influence, where when you have that intentionality behind that curiosity, you can really help. Because it's fair to say that if I asked you right here, right now, what's the number one job of a salesperson? It's to help, right? Find a problem, help, fix it, solve it. That's it. Nothing else matters. And there's no way you're going to fix that problem if you don't understand that problem, which is why the diagnostic approach that is much more like a doctor is about inquiry. It's not, it's not to trick you or anything like that. I want to ask something kind of off the wall, very direct. When someone's in a sales role, and this happens with CMMS and all kinds of other software, and they're out there so and so peddling their wares, there's a problem with the software and it doesn't work, but they're still selling it. What would your thoughts be on that for sales reps that are in that situation where they've got a company, it's a good product, but it's got some problems and it's not being fixed? Do they need to just straight bail from
Depends
that
on the
company?
depends on quote unquote the problems. Like that's too broad of a question. Like what are give me more, be more specific. What type of problems, right? You said it's a good product. Why is it a good product?
It's a good product because it does everything that it says it's going to do, but it falls short on the reporting. They just can't get the reporting right when it comes to the metrics that we want to report on after the fact. We want to see what we're doing now, what we did in the past, what's coming up in the future as it relates to KPIs, metrics. And they've got some broken reporting. Everything else is great, easy to use. Everybody uses it, all that, and they just can't get the data right when it comes out the back end. So we got input versus output.
So no, I wouldn't abandon that. I just wouldn't sell it to somebody whose environment uh, was heavily dependent on the reporting. Like if if the reporting would negatively affect their ability to reach the desired outcomes, and no, you don't sell it to them. And
Right.
if the reporting is critical to every single buyer and you can't deliver on their desired outcomes because the reporting is broken, then yeah, okay, then you bail ship. But you don't ever. My definition of a product being broken isn't whether or not it works. Okay, I mean, I guess technically, if it literally doesn't load, okay, that's a different story. But to me, my definition of a product is broken is if it's unable to deliver on its intended purpose. That's a broken product. So in the software world, if if I press the button and it button does what it's supposed to do, and I input the information and it sends it where it's supposed to send, and everything is designed is working, but as I use it, it doesn't help me make my goal, then or deliver the outcome that I bought it for, then that's a broken product.
Right. Right. And the reason I asked it is because I think internally, when we're on the sales team or the strategy team or whatever it is, we know these inner workings of what we're delivering, and we might see some gaps, and that can create some discomfort depending on your approach out there in the world. And I just wanted to put the question to you instead of just deciding for myself. I want to hear your thoughts on these things. I want to switch this over to something that's also a little bit kind of touchy. We've talked about it on some engagements in the past where I was on those web sessions or podcasts or whatever it was. Is there ever a time that it is actually okay to combine discovery and a demonstration on one call, on one meeting?
Not true discovery. No. Mm-mm.
And
Maybe maybe uh, if you have a very transactional product that can be bought on the spot, and so you just need to clarify a few things so that you help them pick the right thing, or just so you can validate that yes, what they're thinking is correct and they should buy this, then yeah, then that's fine. But that's not about 90% of most sales. And this is why people don't get it. And B2B, I don't know what it is. I have no evidence, but based on what I've seen, the average sales cycle is at least 30 days and as long as 18 months. Okay, in B2B. Which means that even on the shorter ones at 30 days, they have to go back and assess whether they should buy or not. They're going through some rigmarole, they're going through some decision process to determine, do we spend the money or do we not? They're taking information in, they're processing that information and asking themselves, should we buy? And then they're trying to answer the question. Okay. So if it takes 30 days, why the fuck why can't you do 2 discoveries? It's not like you're holding them up. It's not like you're like, oh, well, I got to do this discovery, so I want to make the decision by Friday and it's Wednesday. No, it's not going to happen. they're going to go back and they're going to look at another company or look at another product. They're going to talk about it internally. They're going to call you back and want more information. They're going to want to know your pricing. They're going to, all these decisions have to be made. But what's at the center of those decisions is whether or not this is going to work. Is it going to deliver on my desired outcomes? Is it going to deliver on what I want to change in my organization? If I could get me more leads, is it going to help me close business faster? Is it going to help me manufacture things quicker? Is it going to help me save on inventory waste? Is it going to get me to the top of the SEO on the top page in SEO? Is it going to help? Is my website going to stand out compared to my old website? Like, everybody has some fucking outcome they're looking for. And if you don't take the time to understand why what's not working today isn't working and the impact that that's having and what they've done to try to fix it, and how long it's been going on, and how much money it's costing them, and yada, 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 which you can't do in 20 minutes.
No.
You can't. So if you don't know all that stuff, fucking fine. Don't even do a discovery. Just fucking give them the demo. I don't care, but you're not selling. This is the part that bothers me. All these assets going, I do them both. No, you're a fucking idiot. You're not getting enough information to properly understand and provide help to them. So if you can sell shit by asking a bunch of stupid high-level questions and showing the product, fucking have at it, but you're not a salesperson. You're a glorified order taker, period.
Yeah, and how does that relate then to overall organizational movement? Like within these sales organizations, we get people that come in and they start, doing the product pitch, the really generalized questions. They're asking a bunch of self-diagnosing questions, and they're not really penetrating deep into the business case. That is a combination of agency on the part of the individual, right? Understanding and knowing how they can be better. And then two, the organization itself looking at how are we really moving out there in the world to accomplish these sales and these engagements. So they need to look at that. Does that come from leadership, or is it in middle management, or is it something else? Kind of a random question.
It should come from leadership. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you have a really, really good salesperson, they're aware and they take it upon themselves to do what they need to do to be successful, then have at it. But to operationalize it or get the maximum benefit across an organization, to improve win rates, to shorten sales cycles, to stop losing to the status quo, management has to take the lead here, and they have to implement a whole set of steps and criterias and processes to make sure the team does it and they know what they're doing, starting with a methodology, right? I just posted today, you cannot be a world-class sales organization if you don't have a methodology that you adhere to and push all the way through the organization. You just can't.
Earthquake.
And so many organizations don't.
Sorry, earthquake.
Really?
Yeah. I'm in Southern California.
I've never experienced one before.
Whoa, yeah, you don't want to, man. They're weird. You might be all right with it though, the way you're banging down those moguls, man. You're like, whatever, I'm good. Yeah, we're going to talk about that later. I wanted to switch to something else. This might be a little bit controversial. It might not be. I don't know. But the MQL to SQL and the vanity metrics, do you have any opinion on that, where you could just kind of like a rant, or is it just a waste of time and just do what you do, quit bitching about it type of thing?
No, I think you need to measure. I think you need to measure. It doesn't mean you're doing a good job, but look, you can't get to the opportunities if you don't go through the leads. So at the end of the day, if you want to call it an MQL and SQL, you want to call it an A or a B, if you want to call it green or red, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. You just can't say we've created 1,000 MQLs and 500 SQLs, we're doing a great job. No, what you need to do is look at the entire process, right? And say, we met our number because we had 1,000 MQLs and 500 of those turned to SQLs, and 25% of those, I'm shitty, well, 10% of those or 50 turned into opportunities, and we had a 20% close rate, and we got 2 deals, whatever the number was, right? 20%. We got 10 deals, 15 deals, 12.5 deals, whatever. You get my point. Okay, yeah. So we made our number. That is all that matters. Now, if you look at it and say, wow, wait, we only had a 20% close rate, what can we do to get that close rate or that win rate to 25%? If we had 500 SQLs, but we could only turn 10% of those into freaking opportunities, what's wrong there? So let's go look and say, why is it that this is a real sales qualified lead, but we're only getting, 10 out of 100 into the pipeline, what's happening there. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there, you should measure them so you can see where the breakdown is in the process. But the only one you should celebrate is the end one.
Yeah. That leads me to another question where when it comes to all that process, and then we talk about like what you and I are doing now and some of the things that happen that we cannot necessarily attribute. Do you have an opinion on this concept of dark funnel, where things that we do out in the world actually translate into business over a longer timeline, but we have
Yeah.
no way to attribute it? Do you think companies should be doing a hell of a lot more of that? Like just educating people about, hey, here's what we do, here's what we care about.
100%, 100,000%. Companies need to be way more visible in an engaging way or in a content way. Look, I think one of the companies that does this best is HubSpot. They're a giant company and they are machines at cranking out content. Machines. I mean, it could be argued that they're giving Salesforce a run for their money, right? I mean, when I ask people what CRM they're on, 95% of the time it's either HubSpot or Salesforce. And and
Yeah.
uh and HubSpot's only 3 or 4 years old from a CRM perspective, right? I mean, there's been other ones like Zoho and Nimble and um, Pipedrive and Pipeliner or whatever. Like, there's been others out there that have not made any level of penetration. HubSpot drops this thing. Granted, they had their marketing group, but still, they dropped that shit. And now they're a solid second tier player behind Salesforce. So, and it's one of the reasons they create massive content, massive.
Yeah, and that my whole reason behind asking that, because I'm a fan of the dark funnel when it comes to doing these things, and it's kind of a, I don't know, a branding play, but I don't like calling it that. It's too simple. It's about letting people know who you are, what you're really all about, so that they have better decision making opportunity when they want to engage with you. Because we
Yeah.
get clients in all industry, they come to us and they say, well, we need to buy your stuff. And then, from a sales perspective, some people are going to be like, what's your credit card number? When what we really want to do is go, well, why why
Mm-hmm.
why do you think that, and get into that discovery. I wanted to ask about
It's
the
about awareness. People miss it. It's about awareness. And the more you can create awareness through how you do something, the better. It's just going to be a horrible metaphor. Horrible. But it's going to resonate. If if I was let's say I owned a car repair place, right? Or better yet, a car when you fix them up, like when you soup them up, like a car,
restoration.
yeah, car restoration or whatever, a company, right?
Hmm.
Rather than doing advertising, right? Like advertising, imagine if I could rent a small section on the Strand in LA, right? And I would bring out a car and all I would do is work on it. That's all I would do. I would just work on it in public. So I bring out this piece of shit car, and then every day I'm working on it and working on it and working on it. And people, as they go by every single day, start to see it transform,
Hmm.
right? People are gonna be like, oh shit, I remember that car 3 weeks ago. It was a piece of shit. Look at that's amazing. Who are you? Right? If that's all I did, I'd make a mint. I'd have more people lining up because I didn't sell them anything. I didn't do advertising. I just got in a high traffic area and just sat there and did my craft in plain sight. So when you start creating content, that's what you're doing. You're doing your craft in plain sight. I got to remember that. Craft in plain sight. And when people see you doing your craft in plain sight, they're more inclined to want you to do your craft for them because they trust it. They've seen the results. They've been able to read with or engage in what's happening, and it makes you more attractive.
Yeah. And I love the analogy. I think it's phenomenal because, I mean, I don't know about everybody out there that listens to my stuff. I mean, whatever, but I love hot rods and the idea of restoring a car. And when somebody's working on something like that, I mean, you get in these conversations. Hey, do you mind if I sit here and watch? And
Mm-hmm.
the guy doing it, you're going to be like, hell yeah, pull up a chair, man. Here's some water. I'm going to do
Yeah.
my work. It's a great way. So this is kind of the thing about the dark funnel. So I want to ask about transparency when it comes to organizational transparency internally. When we talk about leadership, top down, do you think there's a big problem with the idea of transparency all the way down so that, people on your front line doing sales, engaging with customers know what the organization is really all about and what they're doing. Say, for example, you're at a company that is maybe they're PE funded and they're at that 2 to 3 year mark, and there's going to be a change in the next subsequent 1 to 2 years. New PE is going to come in and all that. Should they be transparent with their team about that so that they have an awareness of how they can conduct themselves and buy into the organizational goals?
100%. 100%.
Why do they not do it more often than do it?
I don't know. So I gotta be. I don't know. I'd have to ask one of them. If you force me to guess, I would say it's because in many cases the majority of the people in the organization have no skin in the exit.
Got it.
No skin in
Got it.
the exit whatsoever. And only do they not have skin in the exit, in many cases they would be um, let go. There's a probability they could be let go in the exit, whether it's another PE firm or, and maybe sometimes not. They could just slide in and just keep doing what they're doing, but
Yeah.
they're not benefiting from the exit. And so I think a lot of people feel that if they did tell everybody they're going to sell, that people would be uneasy, they wouldn't get their job done, or they'd say, well, wait, how come I'm not getting a piece of this? So I think they view it as a negative thing, and figure just keep them in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah. No, again, the reason I want to ask is I want to see what you're thinking about it and just get that perspective. When it comes to smaller companies, you remember, the early startup days, blood and guts, bootstrapping, you can really have your hands on everything. You got a small team, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, and you start to scale. Does that scaling always mean that you're going to dilute your white glove approach to everything that you do? Or is there a way to scale and preserve that white glove approach to what you deliver for your clients, whether it's you or any other industry? I know you need other variables figured out there, but if we just generalize, assume that it's a good, solid platform program that they're selling, the people are all dedicated, maybe they got skin in the game, but now we got to scale. Does it really take away from
I think it
things
depends on
that,
how you define white glove.
so say for example you are always heavily involved with your clients, but you don't have a true customer success department. You have individuals that wear multiple hats. You're really close to your clients. You don't just sell them stuff and onboard them, you freaking deliver always. Now you're going to bring money in and scale that process. So you can scale the identical process, or as you move forward, you start bringing in new people that have to learn what you know. There's going to be a slight dilution in the quality of that delivery. I've always wrestled with that concept of small,
Again,
nimble, focused.
I heard what you said when you described it, but I think again it really comes down to how you define white glove service. So I'm trying to think of somebody. Where did I go? I can't remember where it was. I can't remember. But I've experienced. I'm mad now because I'd really like to use real life examples. But I've experienced environments where I'm like, whoa, like these people are on it. This is impressive, right? Um, and it's usually in the hospitality space. It's usually where it is. Um, and so they know and they've done the work to maintain the level of service and the white glove touch. But it's always in high end service industry. Okay. So I think it would come down to the definition of high end and is it really even necessary? So uh, there's a lot here that I can't answer, but the answer is yes. If you want high end, white glove, over the top service and support, you can do that. It's just going to cost a lot of money. Right. And so therefore you're going to have to get that money back somehow. Either you're going to have to you're going to have to charge more, or you're going to have to uh, uh, have I guess in the end, just you're going to have to charge more. Right.
Yeah.
And so, oh, I know this. You have to charge more. And so if you're going to charge more, the people getting the service have to see the value in paying more for it. And I don't think in a lot of situations, companies don't want to pay for a level of service past a certain point, right? So the answer is yes, but I don't think the market demands it.
Or maybe at the same time, maybe they don't understand it, because I'm thinking about this all the time in what I've done with providing CMMS software and really being there for your clients. Always great service, great training, all that great stuff. And as you start to scale, customers just don't understand how expensive that is to deliver. And the organizations that are delivering it understand how expensive it is to deliver it, and they have to make some choices. So I don't know that we're going to resolve it on this phone on this meeting and this question. I want to get the ideas out there about.
The answer is yes. Of course,
Yeah.
you can protect white glove all day long. You can have some of the best service ever on the planet. The real question is there a market for it? Will my customers pay for it? And do they see the value? Do they see the value? Because they see the value, where they pay for it? And I think that's different by every industry. And I don't think many really need white glove.
It's interesting you say that, because even in the best practices of maintenance and reliability, which is where we're looking at equipment assets, making sure they have really high uptime, which is availability for more throughput, and you want high quality products. That's something where some organizations actually should not have a true reliability program, because true reliability is really expensive to deliver. To make that part of your operational excellence is what we really call it in this space, CMMS or otherwise. I don't care what the software is. By the way, is it fair to say when people are pitching these products and talking to people on discovery, nobody cares about your product or your features? They only care about their problem.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so simple. I don't understand why we see so much feature dumping, and
Because it's
why
easier.
people can't get away
It's
from it.
easy. It's easier, and it's what companies train the people, and they train you in the product. So that's what you're going to talk about. By the way,
Yeah,
CMMS. So have you ever heard of Arms Reliability?
I have.
Yeah, that's who it was, and now they're with Baker Hughes.
Okay. Okay. So, and that's what's another thing that's interesting about this industry is there's so many different sizes and, kind of the footprint, whether it's global, local, all that kind of stuff. It's just an interesting thing. And everybody's like, how can you have a podcast about CMMS? I'm like, focus on the maintenance management in the middle. It's about people and it's about process. It's about value. Nothing else. Don't care about the product, but I want people delivering for their clients, because I'm about the client and I want to make the organizations better somehow. And I thought doing this, somebody's going to learn something. Somebody's going to follow you and learn more about your passion about. Focus on the problem. Quit pitching your product. I want to go to kind of a rapid round type of thing, because I want to be mindful of your time. But we're going to do rapid round. I'm going to say something like a phrase, a word. You just tell me a little something about it. Just boom. Cold calling is dead.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about your product.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Right? And what's your thoughts on this idea of speed to lead? How fast you respond to a lead that comes in?
Oh, huge fan of that. Huge fan. Top of mind. 100% top of mind. So if I am thinking, I wonder if there's an application that does X. And I just maybe in a high, just curious, and someone hits me up right away. That's still top of mind. If I looked and I hear them from 5 days later and I forgot why I was looking, or I might not ever get back to you, and I could have a real problem, but I didn't really think about the problem I had, and I really wasn't giving it a whole lot of thought after that moment. And now I'm not going to get back to you. But if you got me in that moment, it got me thinking, like, this problem's bigger than yeah. Let's keep talking. You can create momentum with that, like pull the momentum.
Yeah. Yeah. Next one, you get one of those leads, comes in, you're on it, gets to the account executive. They're on there to talk to this lead that's now looking like a prospect. And prospect says, I just want to know the price before we even talk about anything else.
Price of what?
The software, the solution, what you're going to deliver for me.
I have no idea. A software solution can range from $1,000 a month to $200,000 a month. Comes down to what you try to solve. Comes down to the issues you're having. Comes down to the features or the elements of the software, the number of people. So to get a better understanding of what I would recommend to you, which then I could give you some pricing. Can you tell me what's going on?
Should we give our potential buyers, our prospects that need help, information ahead of our discovery call so that they can prepare?
Can't hurt. But I would tell them what you want to find, what you're looking for, but can't hurt.
Okay. Should clients be asking their potential vendors difficult, challenging questions about who they are, how long they've been around, and really put them to the test on how do you really deliver your support? How many people are on your support staff in customer success? Should they be
Not
doing
the
that to their
first two,
vendors?
not the first two. How long you been around and all that shit? No, that really doesn't matter. You should ask challenging questions like, um, I don't know. You said you had, so you should ask challenging questions based on what they shared with you. So I'm leaning over my skis here, but you told me that you believe you've had 3 or 4 unplanned downtime events in the last year. But you also said you weren't exactly sure how long they were down, when you got notified they were down, how long it took to get back up, and whether or not those machines went down were within the maintenance schedule, were not within the maintenance schedule, had been maintained, not been maintained. So, understanding that, you believe that, based on what you told me here, is it fair to say that your current strategy could use some improvement because you were unable to answer some of those questions? You can challenge them like that.
And then vice versa, if the person that is looking at engaging and buying the software solution from this company, should they be putting that company to the test as well? Like the buyer, the customer?
Of course, why not? I mean,
Yeah,
I think it depends on how. I mean, just like a salesperson asks stupid questions, buyers can ask stupid questions, right?
fair
So,
enough.
like, well, how long you been in business? What the fuck does it matter? Like, what? How does that help you?
Yeah,
Like, we've been in business longer than a year, so I don't understand what's your point. Like, why do you want to know how long we've been in business? I want
yeah.
to know if you can do the job. Well, that has nothing to do with how long I've been in the business. Why don't you ask a question about how we came up with our approach? Ask us about how we developed the software. Ask us about, right? Like, how fucking long I've been in business. I don't have time for that shit.
No, no, nobody does. Finish this phrase. Sellers need to stop.
Pitching, trying to close,
What is
selling.
Coffee Keenan?
I'm sorry.
What is Coffee Keenan? You remember that from a couple weeks ago?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Yeah, you started the day off and you had your coffee and you were fired up,
Oh
man. So
yeah, yeah. I gotta stop drinking that shit. I think it's fucking with me because I don't drink it too often. But I like a good espresso once in a while. But man, it. So, anyways, yeah, I love it. It gets me fired up, and I can go all day. But I don't think I like the after effect.
yeah.
It's coffee hangover.
Well, now it's time for the fun questions, not rapid fire. But first, what's your favorite music?
Don't have a favorite. It depends on my mood. So it's hip hop and rap. It is 70s folk. It is 90s hip hop. So it's any one
Cool.
of those. So it's hip hop, modern hip hop and rap, or it's 70. I love 70s folk, just because it's what I grew up when I was a little kid. And then 90s hip hop.
How about, I kind of think I know this one, but I'm asking you. This is for you, not for me. What is your favorite sport or hobby?
Oh, now it's skiing, no question. Skiing,
And
no
then
question.
we got to give a little love to your Buffaloes.
Oh yeah, go Buffs. I mean, look, I love football. I'm a huge football fan. Played in high school, but that was a long time ago. After my senior year, I never put a helmet on again. But I ski 60 days a year, mogul skiing primarily. So yeah, skiing all the way.
All right, here's the big one. What is your perspective or philosophy, opinion, whatever you want to say? There's no wrong answers on work-life balance.
Work-life balance is a choice, and think of it like a string. Okay, two ends of it. If you pull one end of the string all the way to the right, the one on the left is going to go more right. If you pull the one on the left, the one on the to the left, the one on the right is going to come more left. Okay? So, if you want to rise up in your company, or you want to start a company and be an entrepreneur and make millions and millions of dollars, you're pulling that string to the right. Your work, let's say work's on the right, you're pulling that to the right. I don't care what you want. I don't care how it's important to you. That family and that life part is going to be yanked with it, which means you're going to get less and less of that. Fact. If you want more and more of the life and you yank that shit to the left, nothing wrong with that. but the work is going to be yanked to the left as well, and you'll be working less and less and less. I'm thinking like in the middle, right? You get the middle and you pull one side or the other. So you don't get both. That's the fact. And that's what's kind of wrong with our society. It's like, oh, we're going to have work-life balance. Yeah, fucking have it. So here's your string. It's in the middle. You're never going to get all of this stuff to the right of this, where the string is sitting, all that stuff out there, CEO or, the promotions or the $500,000, $1 million a year or running your own company. You're not going to get that. But if you're perfectly fine here, middle manager, or with your own business, that you're an operator, making 90, 100K, 150, great. There's nothing wrong with it. And you get all this time with your family. Or the other way around, if you want all this time with your family and you want more, then you got to be perfectly fine living on 60, 70, 80K a year and et cetera. I don't give a shit. Whatever works for you. We just have to stop thinking that you can have all of this stuff over here, way out on the edge, and all of this over here. I got all the time with my family and I'm doing this and I get to work my ass. It doesn't fucking work that way. It's physics, baby. It's a piece of string in the middle. You pull it, one goes the other way or one goes the other way. And if you want balance, it's in the middle, but you don't get any of the stuff on the edges.
Wow. I'm just going to say wow. And for everybody, if you want to learn about Keenan, see his stuff, learn about a sales growth company, you can find Keenan on LinkedIn. You can get in touch with Sales Growth Company for any of your gap selling, sales training needs. They're at salesgrowth.com. Make sure you check out Keenan's book. It's Gap Selling, that you can find on Amazon. And there's tons of other resources that they offer. And I just want to thank you after all this time, Keenan, for coming on CMMS Radio. I had a blast.
My pleasure, baby. Sorry it took me so long, but I'm glad we did it.
Not to worry, man. I know you're busy. You're doing good things out there.
Thanks, bro.
You got it.
All right.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit cmmsradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.